thank you all very much for coming this evening. I'm Kathy Ranke, the Spencer County Regional Chamber of Commerce Director, and we really, truly appreciate your time as both residents and candidates here tonight. So thank you for being here to show your passion about our elected officials in Spencer County. I am not going to talk a whole lot, and I could go on, believe me, but we have a lot of candidates here this evening, and we also want to thank DC Broadcasting for being here. 103.3 The Fix, it will be on broadcast live, and WJTS TV 18, and this will be live broadcast or live tape recorded on WJTS TV 18 on Sunday, October 7th at noon, and then I'll back up Thursday, is it Thursday? Tuesday, October 2nd at 7 p.m. So we will be able to see that live, taped live. So we appreciate everyone being here, and I want to thank very much our moderators, Kathy Treader and Vince Lukey. So I'm going to turn it over to Kathy.
Hello and welcome everybody. I thought I would tell you how we're doing this so everybody would understand. As you may have read, we're giving each candidate 2 minutes to sort of state their position or introduce themselves, whatever they want to do. But we're going to do it by first bringing up the 4 people that are running for state representative. They'll get it, say their piece, and then we will ask them questions. Then they can sit down, and then we will bring up the county council candidates and kind of down from there. So we are going to start initially with the 4 people that are running for state representative, which would include Ron Bacon, who is the incumbent, and he's run, and his opponent is John Hurley, and that is District 75 state rep. And then the incumbent in District 74 is Steve Bartles, and his opponent is Larry Kleeman. So if the 4 of you would come up, I would appreciate it. Do you want to sit, or would you rather stand? Probably stand to state your case. As a senior statesman, Ron, do you want to begin? Okay.
Thank you. I like the way she used senior. So, thank everybody for being here. I'd like to thank the Chamber for hosting us tonight, and thank all of you for attending and listening. I'm Ron Bacon, your current state representative, District 75. Since taking office in 2010, we've taken Indiana to an unprecedented level. We have operated the state with a balanced budget for 4 straight bienniums, with no tax increases, by living within our means. We have cut taxes 10 times, cutting the personal income tax, cutting the corporate tax rate, cutting the farmland assessed value base rate, and along with eliminating the death tax. We've added hundreds of new companies, thousands of new jobs, and our unemployment rate is currently at 3.5%. Indiana is now ranked as best in the Midwest for business climate, cost of doing business, cost of living, and #1 in the nation for state government. Last year, we implemented a 20-year infrastructure plan without raising taxes, and while doing all this, we have still increased school spending all 4 bienniums. I have offered and implemented many bills that have improved our citizens' health and have protected our children and our student athletes. I'm here tonight asking for your vote so that together we can continue to make government work for you. Thank you.
I'm John Hurley, and I'm your Democratic candidate for state representative of Indiana's 75th District. Each of you are here tonight because you care about who represents you in the State House. You want someone you can trust, someone as just concerned about the future of Indiana as you are. You want someone that cares about your schools, your jobs, your health, your rights. Unfortunately, many of our schools have lost career and technical education programs. Steady jobs are no longer the norm, and citizens often feel powerless to influence these outcomes. More and more decisions occur in Indianapolis rather at the city or county level. We can do better. We must empower educators to provide positive outcomes for students. We must advocate for steady, good-paying careers, and we must maintain local control of decisions whenever possible. I would like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity to be here tonight, and I would appreciate your support and vote this election. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank Spencer County Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, and I'd like to thank you guys for taking the time to come out to this event. Commerce is one of my top 10 items in this district. It drives the funding and expansion for schools, public safety, housing, taxes, employment, local units of government. It all benefits you and your families in our community. Investing in our future, weighing those costs, and determining what you determine is best for you and your return on your investment. And that's what I'm asking for you, your support and investment in me, representing you in Indianapolis. Why pick me over my opponent? My diversified experience in education and being in bipartisanship. I believe government can work together. I represent over 66,000 people, and having that diverse base of experience is more beneficial, and I relate to more people. You can see on the back of the card, your table, that I was a full-time law enforcement officer. I've stepped up and volunteered as our county economic development director. I've took several courses in training and seminars and helped change the way that Crawford County had done business. I have 7 years on the Crawford County Council, served 3 years as president, 22 years of military, retiring a major, and I've served on the County Tourism Board as president also. So what does that mean for you? So what? Because I have such a diverse background, and many at the State House do not, I have the ability to interject and lead conversations in my area of expertise, and thus I have influenced the outcome of votes. Example, my experience on local government was able to help stop the mandatory consolidation of our townships. I have several other examples, but bipartisanship. I will not compromise our conservative values in Southern Indiana, but parties can work together. It's unique for a freshman legislator to pass a bill, let alone pass 2 bills and have them passed unanimously. I did this as not rocket science, both just treating people the way I want to be treated. I am your best return on your investment. I humbly ask for your vote.
Good evening. I'm Larry Kleeman. I'm from Tell City. Married, my wife Sharon. We have 5 adult children, 10 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren. I'm glad you're here this evening. And I'm running for this office because I want to listen to you. I want to represent you in Indianapolis, represent your needs and your positions, and advocate for some solutions to our problems. I want to focus on the future, especially with public education and with reform in the Department of Child Services. I often use a quotation from Robert Kennedy. Some men see things as they are and say, why? I dream things that never were and say, why not? I believe in that. I believe we can do better. I want to end my remarks this evening with a story that motivated me to run for this position a little over a year ago. It was about a young girl in southern Indiana that was in foster care, and the article was about the shortage of foster homes. And there is a severe shortage of foster homes. This young girl was 7 years old, and she'd been moved several times during her brief 7 years of life. She was so traumatized with the fear of moving that when the case manager would come to visit with her and her foster parents, she would run and hide in the closet for fear of being moved again. We're better people than that. We're a better state than that. We need to reform the Department of Child Services now, not a year from now, not 6 months from now. We need no more studies. We need to reform the Department of Child Services. One of the things we can do is to decentralize the decisions that are now made in Indianapolis so that they're made on a local level with local authorities. I'm Larry Kleeman. I'm running for state representative. I ask you for your vote. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask you 4 gentlemen several questions, and I'll let you each have an answer. And the first one's going to be easy, but I mean, you might have really long answers, but if you could, try to go easy. First question came from an audience member. What is your stance on the voucher system for private schools?
The voucher system was put into place the first year I came into office in 2010, and it was for those children who couldn't get out of a failing school system. We spent that year 5 weeks working on that bill, which originally gave anyone with $200,000 and above the right to have a voucher, which was wrong. If you have $200,000, you can move your child to a school that you want them to be in if you've got an issue. We spent 5 weeks working on that bill when the Democrats left and went to Illinois. And we got it completed. We got the bill passed at $64,000 and free and reduced lunch. And those are the ones who needed it. Since then, it has morphed into a few other things that I'm really not too happy about and have been working to solve. People think we should have school choice. Yes, school choice is a great thing, and we should be able to do that, but not at the expense of all the schools, the good schools that we have. So we've got to come up with a way to take care of that issue.
I guess first off, I do want to clarify something. Ron and me did not get in a scuffle out in the parking lot tonight, so before that rumor gets started anywhere. The voucher system in Indiana right now for the 2017-2018 year, according to the Associated Press, that's going to be about $153 million going into that system. If that money was evenly divided among our public schools, that's going to be around $525,000 per school district that could be used for career and technical education, that could be used for counselors, that could be used for equipment, for supporting the school, and for supplying other teachers as needed as those corporations see fit. Unfortunately, this is something that is embedded within Indiana's legislature, within the school system now. I would definitely be an advocate of phasing this out over time in order that we can get the funding back to our public schools and that your tax dollars are going to the public schools that they were meant to support. Thank you.
So a lot of this happened prior to me coming to legislation, and like Ron said, it has morphed into something that he and I both agree on that we don't like. When we talk about vouchers, people equate that to charter schools, and I can guarantee you I probably won't see a charter school in my district in my lifetime. It's because we have good public schools. I support the public schools. When it comes to the voucher program, I'm for parental choice, and I do support parental choice. So I think the key is I'm not willing to expand the voucher system, and we have to fix the problem that the intent has changed from when it first was enacted. So that's what I'll do.
Thank you. Basically, I'm opposed to the voucher system, and I would like to see it over time phased out. In the interim, I believe that schools that receive public funds should be subject to public accountability and transparency, like public school systems are. And I don't think that happens currently. Thank you.
I'll be slightly long-winded for your next question. Our state is ranked 6th in the nation for most polluted, and Rockport is in the top 20 for most polluted cities. Yet, of the 6 toxins the EPA requires states to monitor, we have only one monitor in Spencer County. This one's atop David Turnham, which is in the north, in Dale, and only monitors fine particulates. In addition, Spencer County is ranked 23rd out of over 3,000 counties and parishes for toxic release. What would you do to ensure that we are being appropriately monitored, and what would you do to make sure that things don't get worse?
It's a tough one. So, as you said, it's the administrative offices that do the monitoring, do for the rulemaking, and what's in place. So they're monitoring what they're supposed to be doing. We are going to have to create legislation to change that. And this is outside of the monitoring here in Rockport in this area, I've also got some other monitoring problems in our area, which has to do with CAFOs and some other issues that are causing some other asthmatic breathing problems too. So this is something we need to continue to work on so that we have proper monitoring so that we know what's going on. And I want to continue to do that.
Will you ask that the state add more monitoring?
Sure, absolutely.
Again, I think Ron and me could agree on this component. That's going to be a complicated issue. It's something where we need to have essentially more monitoring stations if that's what it calls for. If the local areas are calling for more of that to be reviewed, if there's the need for it, then you might be able to put the legislation through in that instance. I think, again, we have to follow what a lot of the local jurisdictions are wanting in their area, because we're going to be different, obviously, from someone in the northern part of the state and the central part of the state.
So like Ron said, yeah, obviously I'd be supportive of more monitoring. The real question is, after we get more monitoring, then what? I think that's the question that's on everybody's mind. So, is it possible that we're going to have to relook at some of the item rules and regulations and amounts of release? Obviously, that we need to keep looking at those throughout as industry changes.
It's kind of nice being cleanup. I get a substitute answers, but I favor more air monitoring. Frankly, I don't know what the status is. That's one thing that I have been intending to find out, is exactly what is the air monitoring capacity in each of the counties, of the 5 counties in Region 74. But the air is not owned by any individual or any individual business, and we need to be monitoring it for the health of our folks. And one comment I wanted to make also, and I think Representative Bacon said that Indiana was ranked, I don't know, number 1 or very high as far as business, but there was also a report that came out through CNBC on their annual business report that gave Indiana an F for quality of life, the well-being of its citizens. That concerns me, and I think air quality is one component of that. Thank you.
This is a question submitted by someone in the audience on education. How do you propose to adequately fund rural school districts such as those in Spencer County when much of the funding appears to be gravitating towards urban areas?
Larry, you want to go first? The funding has been, as I said in my opening remarks, we have increased school funding the last 4 bienniums on top of everything else that we have done. If you look at the numbers, you pull them up, we are now funding the child. The money stays with the child. So I don't have the exact numbers, but I know that in Spencer County, we were getting approximately $4,900 per child when I took office. We are now getting up to $6,100, $6,300 per child. So the spending has increased. It's not a matter of how much funding we're getting. The problem we're having in Spencer and in Pike, my 2 smaller counties, is that we have a population issue. So we're having less and less students here. So we're looking at that. One of the things that we did last year was allow the schools to use more of the funds that are available to put them into education instead of, such as the bus funds. If they had an excess in there, they're allowed to use it for that. So we're looking at funding issues in that way so that we can increase that. So that's what we're trying to get done. And we realize there's a funding issue, but we've got to get it picked up. But we have increased the last 4 bienniums, excuse me.
And while that has increased overall, we're now funding at least 3 different systems. Your public schools, schools that are taking vouchers, and then the charter schools, which can even be divided into for-profit and nonprofit charters. So the overall numbers increased. Unfortunately, most of that funding has actually gone to those other systems and away from your traditional public education. As far as with rural schools, he's right. The issues we have is population, and the latest numbers on that shows that Warwick's even plateauing right now as far as their actual student population. So they're going to be having some of the issues that Spencer and Pike have had. It just may be in the next few years. It's tough for me to say that now we have to look at our students as a $6,000 price tag. That every one of those students is now worth anywhere from $6,000 to $6,500, depending on some certain factors involved there. Any teacher, any educator, any parent knows that if you lose population in a school, you don't lose it in one entire classroom, one entire grade. But if you lose one or two students in ninth grade, one or two kindergartners, one or two second graders, eventually now that's the salary of a teacher. And now those school districts are digging for funding wherever they can find it, because you can't leave a room of 15 kindergartners or 20 kindergartners without a teacher there. And where are we going to find that money? And it is correct, they've made some moves on where you can allocate that funding, where you can move money around. Unfortunately, a lot of the rural districts, it still grouped the money where they were good together with the money where they were performing poorly together, because it was done by the population of that district. And that's what a lot of individuals don't realize. It sounds good when you say the money follows the student. But it doesn't matter if that school corporation has 500 kids, 5,000 kids. You still have to maintain those buildings. You still have to provide those programs if you want those students to have the opportunities that they should be entitled to have. If you want to have diverse programs for them, you're still going to have to fund them. It's very difficult for students in these rural districts across the state to move to another district. It's not something where it's easy for them to do. So a lot of these things that work in the city schools, the urban areas, just are not applicable here. And I think that's something that we need to bring attention to in the State House. Indianapolis needs to know what our issues are and what we'd like to do to help solve them. Thank you.
I was surprised when I heard that 52% of the state's revenue goes to education. As a businessman, I go, how is this working? If over 50% of what the state's revenue brings in is going to education, then why do we have such big problems? And so I started asking those questions, mostly of ISDA. I did not know until I took this job that the state stopped the rural school funding program. That was one thing that was brought to my attention, and that was one of the things that the rural schools actually depended on, and it kind of got them through. It kind of made up a little bit of the difference. So obviously I'm going to revisit that. I told them that. It's not secret. So I'm going to be looking at that program. I think the other thing too is one of the things is we need to look at the DLGF, and I know North Spencer, I don't know if anybody's from North Spencer here, but there's a few mistakes have been made and fighting to get that capital funds back and how we do this assessed value. So obviously I'll be looking at those kind of things and making sure that the school corporations get the money and also have access to other monies if they're designated as rural communities.
Can I ask you a question just by show of hands? How many of you believe that school operating funds are funded by property taxes? Be honest. Okay. So all the rest of you know that school operating funds are funded by the state of Indiana. They're no longer funded by property taxes. Do you understand? Okay. That's important to know. Now, property taxes fund your transportation, debt service, capital improvements, special ed, I believe. Is that right, John? Yeah, okay. Rural schools do not get enough funding. And schools are more than just educating our children. Schools are a part of the community. They're part of community and economic development. If a prospective business is coming to town, what's one of the first things they look at? It's your school. And in small towns, when schools are closed or consolidated, generally speaking, that town begins to die. So I support more funding for our public rural schools. Thank you.
For those of us who are joining on the radio, I might ask the candidates, it's a bit redundant all the time, but maybe just, I may mention your name, or you may say Representative Bartels, just so folks listening on the radio know who's speaking. So this is our last question for this set of candidates. While you will not be the final decision makers, or maybe even major decision makers in Riverview Energy's decision to construct a refinery in Dale, you have no doubt been contacted by residents who both favor or oppose the project. How have you been responding to them?
Responding to them is listening to what they have to say. I've met with some of them personally and in some meetings, and also listening to what IDEM and the other administrative agencies are telling us. So that is what we are to do, and that is our job, is to listen and to respond in that respect. So the rules and obligations are already in place. We're waiting to see what IDEM does with that respect to that, and hopefully that they will do it in a proper manner. And if not, then we'll look into that.
Again, I'm John Hurley. As far as with this project coming in, I've been out in the community. We go to restaurants, door knocking, everything. When it comes up, the biggest thing is making sure you're talking with people, not at people. They also have their concerns with the project, be it for it or against it. One group's going to be happy at the end of the day. One group is going to be upset. That's the reality of it. As far as following the rules and regulations, if that's going to follow what's there, then we need to hold that to it if it comes through, comes to fruition. And you're looking at 225 or more jobs, permanent, 2,000 plus construction jobs. That would be a boon for the economy, at least temporarily in this area. And that's just some of the numbers there that we can look at. Now, again, if they come in here and they're violating the terms, then we need to look at what repercussions need to be there if this again comes to fruition.
So Steve Bartels. So same as Ron. I get emails for and against information from both sides. And like John said, there's a positive impact. There's a potential negative environmental impact. My position is to make sure that no matter what, that the rules are filed with IDEM, that they're putting out the quality that they say they're going to, whether it's discharge water or air quality. And that's pretty much it. It's kind of the locals of Spencer County and Dale have gone through their process and did their public hearings. So I'm just going to make sure that no matter who goes in there, whatever goes in there, they're following the rules of the state of Indiana.
I'm Larry Kleeman, again. Officially, I'm remaining neutral on the project, and I've attempted to educate myself. I've met with, gone to several meetings of the quality of life forums that they put on. I've met with several economic development officials. I've met with union representatives to try to educate myself on the project itself. As these other gentlemen have said, we really don't have authority to make a decision on the project. Our role comes in at monitoring those agencies that do have the authority to make decisions and to monitor compliance. Now, I will say this. I do have concerns about the capacity of IDEM, the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, having the capacity to monitor effectively and efficiently. And that is a concern of mine. agency-wide, not just with this project, but agency-wide. So if I'm elected as state representative, that's one area that I'm going to be educating myself and finding out exactly what's going on as far as the Indiana Department of Environmental Management and how they monitor our air and water quality. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. So that we're not here till 2 a.m., we're going to relieve you and let you sit down a minute, and we would ask that the county council incumbents and candidates come up next. And that will include incumbent Blake Bunner, and he's running for District 2, and Steve Hoff, a new candidate for County Council District 1. Jack Kroger was not able to be here tonight. I think he's visiting a new grandchild. And then we have, Matt Hayco. I'm sorry, Matt. No, and I think I'm missing somebody else. No, I'm missing you. I'm so sorry. Beth Herm. And that's Council 2 as well, correct? Okay. And if you guys, when we ask the question, well, we're going to give you your 2 minutes, but you might want to state your party affiliation too. We didn't ask that the first go round. But would you like to start, Blake?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Kathy and Vince, for having us tonight. My name is Blake Bunner, and I am running for County Council District 2, and I'm on the Republican ticket. I'm 51 years old, and I've been married to this wonderful lady back here, Denise Bunner, who works out at the Rio Clinic. We've lived on Silverdale Road for 20 years. I have 3 adult children, Sarah, Josh, and Rachel. I have a wonderful son-in-law, Tyler Price, and a daughter-in-law, J.C. Bunner. But most importantly, I have 2 beautiful grandbabies, Leliana Rose Bunner and Grayson Tyler Price. I've served for 3 consecutive terms on the County Council, and for the last couple of years, I've served as the president of the board. Many of you know that I work in an industry that brings me much joy, where I see people progress from severe illness and sickness to levels of healing and hope. I am the CEO for HealthSouth Deaconess Rehabilitation Hospital. I have the responsibility of overseeing a $45 million annual budget and over 300 employees. I've worked at HealthSouth since 2009, but I'm also actively involved in our community as I truly love the great people of Spencer County. I've served on the board of directors for the Spencer County Council on Aging since 2006, and I've been board president for most of those years. I also manage the Trinity United Methodist Church Upward Basketball League with my brother Matt, and I've been actively involved with that program for 13 years. I've also served on the Purdue Extension Board, the Spencer County Youth and Community Board, which brought us this wonderful building you're sitting in, the Lincoln Land Economic Development Board, the Solid Waste Board, the Insurance Committee for the county, the Community Corrections Advisory Board, and 8 years as the director for religious release time at the Rockport Elementary School. I believe that I'm an excellent candidate for re-election to the Spencer County Council. I have demonstrated successful management of the county budget, and I am passionate about the serving our community, and I would be honored to have your vote. Thank you.
If I stand behind the podium, you guys might not see me. I'm Beth Herm, and I'm running for election in District 2. Decided to run for county council. I'm born and raised here, grew up on the farm here in southern Spencer County, and decided to come back. I have moved away a few times. I lived in Noblesville, Indiana, lived in Santa Claus, but truly just love this part of the state and think that we can do more. You know, we want our kids. I have a 5-year-old. I'd like for him to move back here after college and be able to grow his family and grow his business or his occupation. I don't work in the county. You know, I haven't had that opportunity other than the assessor's office a few years ago, so I appreciated that education. But I just think our officials can do more. It's not just about crunching the numbers and holding on to that with a tight fist, and that's important. You know, I'm a single mom. I've been balancing budgets for a long time and squeezing every drop out of each dollar. But it's about doing more and planning to succeed in Spencer County. So again, I'm Beth Herm, and I'd appreciate your vote.
I timed this on a 200-year-old grandfather clock, so I know this works. My name is Steve Hoff, and I'm a candidate for County Council in District 1. I hold a bachelor's degree in industrial arts, a master's degree in counseling from Western Kentucky University, and technology education certification from Indiana State University. I'm a lifelong resident of Spencer County, and I've been involved in community affairs my entire adult life. I'm a firm believer in what Henry Ford once said: you build your reputation on what you have done, not on what you say you're going to do. So that begs the question, what have I done for Spencer County? I spent 29 of my 31 teaching years in South Spencer, coached multiple sports in high school, worked in both Rockport and Christian Little League programs. I served as president of the Grandview Park Board when myself and 3 other board members embarked on the boat ramp project. This was a nonpartisan board that raised over $80,000 locally as part of a matching grant. I met with and received support from then Congressman Frank McCloskey, Senator Richard Lugar, and Representative Richard Young to see the successful completion of the ramp. That was followed by a 3-year term as town council president, where I worked closely with Region 15 Plan Commission to secure funds for new sidewalks, street lighting, and the codification of building codes. I'm either a past or present member of the Grandview Conservation Club, Revival Center Church, Spencer County Historical Society. In 2016, I was recognized as Historian of the Year. I served as treasurer of the Grandview Library. I am currently a council member of the South Spencer County School Corporation, where I served 1 year as board president. I am currently president of Spencer County Retired Teachers Association, a member of the Indiana State Retired Teachers Association. I'm a nationally recognized expert of early 19th century artifacts, specifically artifacts related to the Lincoln family. I started an after-school activity that led to a group of students building a super mileage car that set a state record that still stands at 1,525 miles per gallon. The last 2 projects brought positive national and international publicity to our county. Please know I cannot begin to list or mention all the Spencer County activities or organizations I've associated with over the years. I can only promise you that I will bring the same enthusiasm, hard work, and determination to the county council position. I appreciate your vote in November. Thank you.
I'm going to try this. I'm not good at holding things and talking at the same time. Good evening, folks. Thanks to the chamber. Thanks, everybody. I'd like to take a few minutes here to introduce myself to you all that don't know me. My name is Matt Hayco, and I reside north of here on 1350 North, south of Gentryville. I'm married to Ashlyn Air Hayco. Got 5 beautiful daughters. I know it's crazy in the house, but it is what it is. So I'm running for county council because I want to serve this great community that has been so good to me and my family for so many years. I believe that Spencer County is poised for great development in the near future if led in the right direction. My success in business can be an asset to the council. I operate my business every day with a conservative, common sense approach, and will do the same if elected as your next county council member. Some of the most pressing issues in this county, in my opinion, are the lack of broadband development across the county, the tax increment financing district of AK Steel, aka TIF district, and the lack of the development along the 231 corridor. We need to look at ways to appeal and attract investors for housing development in our underdeveloped Highway 231. I would also like to see us use our natural water aquifers for more than just industrial use. I believe we should attract a more diverse industry such as technology, clean manufacturing, automotive, food processing, warehousing, etc. If elected as your next county council member, my #1 goal is to always be a voice, not only for all of you, but to back more TIFs because they are a win-win for all communities of Spencer County. Thank you.
I am not Todd Ruxer, but Todd called me, he texted me, he emailed me. He feels terrible that he cannot be here this evening because of his, but he is at a Sens football game. So he would like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. He also wants to thank our local newspapers for moderating. Most importantly, he wants to thank the Spencer County residents, especially District 4, for putting their trust in him. He apologizes for not attending tonight, but he is coach for his Sens football team, and they have a game. Todd Ruxer, as Harrison, Hammond, and Huff County Council representative, will continue to be fiscally responsible. He wants you to know that he is always available for your ideas, comments, and concerns. Todd will always use common sense to make Spencer County as successful as it can be, not only for today, but for future generations. And again, he thanks you, and God bless.
All right, I get to start this off with the first question. Members of the county council earn about $6,100 a year and are eligible for insurance benefits that are worth, depending on the plan that person takes, worth many thousands of dollars. The question is, should part-time county officials be eligible for insurance when the county is already paying large sums of money for its full-time employees? And
Thank you. Blake Bunner, County Council, District 2 again. That's a great question. I serve on the County Council, and I've elected to not take the insurance. I believe that even though it costs me more money to get insurance in the place where I work, I choose to do that because I don't want to be a burden to our county and to you, so I opt not to take the insurance. But it's a great question because it's important, I believe, for a lot of boards to have insurance available to them. Because when you think about it, if you have boards that do not have insurance available to them, then will they make the best decision for the employees of that particular entity, whether it's the school board, whether it's the county council? Think about that for 1 second. If the board made some kind of decision that would adversely affect the employees of our county. We got a lot of people that work for the government in our county. If they made a decision that would cost them more money, that would not be very favorable. So I do not take the insurance to do my part, but I also serve on the insurance committee, and I work in healthcare to ensure that we make the right decisions and get the right bids each year on different types of insurance. So thank you very much.
As far as insurance goes, I work full-time. I have insurance with my employer. I wouldn't need to take the county's insurance as well. I do believe as a part-time position, there would be an argument to be made that it not be offered. I don't think it's the deal breaker of getting good people to run for county officials that are going to do the best thing for the employees of the county. I think anybody that's going to run for this office should be always doing what's right for the people in each issue, whether Democratic issue, Republican issue. You have to look at the issue. You have to look at the people and who's going to be affected. So there may be an argument to look at that. You know, it is a part-time position. Thank you.
Hi, Steve Hoff. Yes, I think it's a good idea to offer those insurance programs on all the different boards. Now, one of the things that I have tried to do is, or one of the things I'd like to see done in the county is consolidate some of these insurance programs. Currently, South Spencer has a health clinic. North Spencer has a health clinic, as does the county employees. In order to save money, we could consolidate all three of those, make your pool a lot larger, which should make your premium smaller. Another advantage to doing that would be more flexible hours for the employees who are on that insurance. Currently, we have limited hours at our clinic. What I would like to see is a clinic in North Spencer, one in South Spencer, that is open at least every day, 40 hours a week. And we don't have that right now. So that would be a goal of mine, would be to, and in fact, we've already worked on that to a certain point, and we're getting real close to doing exactly that. So in order to make it cheaper, make it more affordable, make it more flexible for our employees is something that I would advocate. Thank you.
I'm not very educated on the whole insurance deal here. I guess my question would be is opening up these clinics and stuff, how much is that going to cost the taxpayers and how much is that going to save us? I agree with Beth. I don't think anybody's here to run for any position in this county for any kind of insurance or anything like that. We all have the best interest, you know, to serve all y'all and to serve this county. So I'm a bit uneducated on the the insurance here. So that's really about all I've got to say.
Okay, economic development is key for Spencer County. Now, DuBois County is working on that Mid-States corridor like crazy. They've got plans in place, they've got things going on, trying to attract new business. Spencer County has a Mid-State corridor, 231. It's in place, but there hasn't been any movement on there since it was built, except for there's now a new Dollar General just down the road. What's your plan for encouraging the county's Redevelopment Commission and Economic Development Commission and to attract new businesses to the corridor and sort of to fill in some of those holes we have missing?
Thank you. Blake Bunner, County Council, District 2. The Lincoln Land Economic Development Corporation was established a long time ago by bipartisan efforts to really attract economic development to our local area. Of course, it's really for the County Council, our part of that is to really consider any and all requests that come forward to us for any company that wants to locate into our county. And we listen to all of those requests, and we have the ability to offer tax incentives to those particular organizations who may purchase property or have personal property within their business, to be able to phase them in a tax situation to where they can get started and start hiring people in our community and being a part of our community. So we really rely on the Lincoln Land Economic Development. We rely on the Chamber of Commerce to get out positive word about our county. We rely on our citizens to really be able to talk about how wonderful it is to live and work in Spencer County. So thank you very much.
I believe that economic diversity is a goal that we need to have in the county. We have had Lincoln Land. We've had some successes in developing and bringing some businesses to the county. But it seems like it's always the heavy, it's the dirty industry that causes all of us to fight against each other. So I'm in sales. If I relied on everybody to bring me suggestions, I'd starve. So why don't we pool our information, develop a plan on the industries that we want to attract, and go after them? You know, what are the things that we could tag team on? We've got a great tourism business in the northern half of the county. How do we in the south try to tag team on that and help build that? How do we bring outside dollars in to our county instead of taking our dollars out to Evansville and to Jasper and to Owensboro and spending them there? It's about thinking bigger and leading.
Along with what the last two candidates said, one of the things I think we really need to focus on is workforce development. In order to have good jobs in Spencer County, we need to have people who can do those jobs. One of the things that I have advocated and been involved with over the years is teaching advanced manufacturing to our citizens here. This past summer, I was involved with the Skills to Success program, and trying to transition low-wage, low-skilled workers to high-wage, higher-skilled workers. The better skills that our workers have, the more attractive that we will become to outside industries that want to come in, businesses. We need to have a comprehensive plan of how these things are going, what these things are going to look like along this corridor, so that it is organized and we're not just putting things here and there, and everybody's working together and on the same page. Thank you.
Is anybody here familiar with Clark County and River Ridge project that they've got going on over there? Probably not. Yeah, we got one. So one of the driving things behind River Ridge, with Amazon being there, with all these different companies that are building there, one of the biggest driving factors behind it is the aquifer that sits underneath that county along the Ohio River. And most of you guys don't know, and I don't know how many of you guys were attended a water meeting after the governor left the lodge back in May, I think it was, June. And I was there. And one of the biggest things that hit home is that we have an aquifer sitting here in this county that can produce 115 million gallons of water a day. And we're using less than 10% of that. And I know you guys think, well, what's that mean? Well, water is just as important as what air is. You got to have air, you got to have water, you got to have all these things. So that's why I think we use these aquifers for industries such as, things that, again, that we can become argumentative with, but why not try to attract more things such as, technology, clean manufacturing, such as food processing plants, such as, the possibilities are endless here. That we don't always have to always go after things that are so controversial and just be limited. That the chamber does a darn good job of promoting this community, but I mean, with the 231 is what the question was about. I mean, what has the Lincoln Land Development brought to 231 besides a Dollar General store? And we got another Dollar General store over here on the other west side of town, the county. So is that what we want to be? Is just dollar stores everywhere when you see this county? I mean, I don't think so. That's not, that's not what I want to see with Spencer County. So I'd like to see money go towards, the things that just make this a better place for all of us, guys.
One more question for our candidates for county council. Broadband fiber optic and the lack of it here has been a hot topic in the county for many years, and certainly for the past year or so. Yet it doesn't seem to always be a priority for the council in terms of budgeting. The state is making it a priority, but little has been heard from county elected officials to shore up support for any type of plan. Is broadband accessibility a priority for you? And if so, what do you propose to do to bring Spencer County technologically into the 21st century?
Blake Bunner, County Council, District 2. We've had several people come before the council to talk about broadband. In fact, probably when you're eating dinner, your son or your daughter or your granddaughter or grandson has an iPhone in their hand, right? Broadband is becoming as important as any other form of infrastructure, whether it's sewer, water, or electric. It is absolutely essential for our day-to-day lives, for us to be able to function, to work, and even to have enjoyment, such as movies and TV, Netflix, and all that good stuff that adds to the quality of life for us. So as on the county council, we are glad, and I personally will support anybody that comes forward and wants to locate into our county to deliver high-speed internet to us in a broadband fashion, whether it's through tax incentives or finding other means of income sources, revenue streams, whether it's the lit tax, whatever might be necessary to really allow them to embed into our community and to deliver it to all areas of the county. I absolutely support that. I want that. I'm sure you do too. Most of you probably have that need for broadband at your home. Some of you may even work from home and may have difficulty connecting to the internet. It is absolutely a hot topic. It's unfortunate that rural areas such as us don't get targeted first, right? The big companies target the clusters of population where the most money can be made in the shortest amount of time. So I pledge to you, as being on the county council, as I have done, I will listen and entertain anybody who wants to attempt to bring broadband to our community. In fact, we've supported a local project to be able to do some further investigation on what we can do as a county to have broadband. Thank you.
In my day job, I'm in outside sales. I'm a virtual employee with my company. So corporate is in New Jersey. I have to VPN. I have to get on the internet. And I'm stuck using my cell phone as a hotspot. I get kicked off every time I get a call. My signal's bad. You know, it just doesn't work. And that keeps us from bringing a lot of that diverse industry into our county. If a company needs high-speed internet and we don't have it, you're not going to have it. It keeps people from moving into our county. You know, our realtors say it all the time that we're losing sales and losing people moving in because they can live across the river or they can live in Newburgh and have high-speed internet. This is critical right now. I would develop a plan to try to go after these companies to try to bring it to us. There's been grants. There's been federal dollars spent to bring it to the rural areas, and it's not here. So find the people who we have to hold their feet to the fire and get it to us. And I would fight that until we get there. In addition to the high-speed internet, cell signal. How many of us no longer have landlines? It's a safety issue if we don't have cell signals out there. So again, I think it's the companies that are our vendors, they are utilities. We need to hold their feet to the fire with every tool that we have.
I support broadband in Spencer County 100%. In fact, I support Governor Eric Holcomb's new tax plan he just released. Next year, he's advocating $1 billion for infrastructure in the state of Indiana. $100 million of that is specifically for broadband in rural areas. So the state does recognize we need it not only for our small businesses, our farmers, and now with the e-learning that we do a lot with the school system, it would be incredibly helpful there. The council recently took a step forward in passing a broadband study in Spencer County. I pushed for that. I think the council members will tell you I called and I lobbied for it really hard because in all of the grants that I have been involved with in Spencer County, you always had to have the study first. And I wanted us to have that study because we knew the grant money was coming down the pipe. And that's what's going to happen. This is going to be grant money that we'll have to apply for. The study's already in process. That puts us ahead of the game. And I really believe we're going to have broadband sooner than later. At least that's, I'm being optimistic about that. Thank you.
So I'm a little educated on the broadband thing myself here. These guys can say they advocate and stuff, but for several 2 or 3 meetings that I went to once I signed up for this, it was as easy to advocate $25,000 for this study to find out if it's feasible for this county to support this. And it got tabled, and it got this, and it got that, and it took Joe Dobie from PSC and some other guys to come in and argue for, an hour and a half just to get these guys to, at the end of the day, I'm not even sure if they made a vote that time or the next time, but the problem here is, guys, is that if you're going to, if we're going to move this county forward, and you've got to invest in the infrastructure, whether it's housing, whether it's broadband, no matter what, you've got to invest. And I feel like that's where our council lacks, is that they don't want to spend a dollar. They don't want to make that risk to further put ourselves in a situation to keep people here. We are a community where people live in DuBois County, Warwick County. People live all amongst everywhere and drive. They can commute here to work. So, what good does it do to bring 250 jobs here if we're not set up to keep people here and to build our tax base? Bedrooms create more tax dollars. We need more housing here, but we're not set up for that. And a study released on August 29th from Purdue University and Indiana electric cooperatives found that every dollar that's invested in broadband, there's a $4 return. So what's the holdup here, folks? I mean, it makes pretty good sense to me. I don't know about you guys, but we need to move forward with this and make this county a place where people want to live. Thank you.
I would like to invite Jim Seiler, who is running unopposed for commissioner, if he would like to do a 2-minute speech. I don't know. I know he's here. He is. Here he comes. Introduce himself. Thank you, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sort of oblivious.
Hello, my name's Jim Seiler. I'm running for county commissioner, District 1. One thing, my family's been in Spencer County since the 50s. My family runs Lakeview Orchard in Rockport, Indiana. Dad started it in 1963, and I'm still there. So hopefully we can keep that going. I have 2 daughters, a grandson, and a son-in-law, and my beautiful wife, Shannon. She threatened to do weird things to me and kick me out if I said any more, so that's as far as we'll go. One thing I would like to bring up is on the broadband. We have several people here that are on a broadband board, and I would like for them to stand up. Tom? Steve? Who else do we have? Bill? Gene? We are making some progress on this, folks. I think these gentlemen and Mr. Lindsay is in on that too. We're going to make some progress on this broadband thing. We're going to get it going. We've got some good things coming at us. Gene's sitting there shaking his head, yes. Thank goodness. So I appreciate your support, and thank you for your vote.
And I will apologize to you, County Council candidates. I should have eaten one of those candy bars. I think I'll get a little tired. I'm sorry about that. Autumn Winkler, our auditor, could you come up? This is the incumbent auditor, Autumn Winkler. It's kind of hard to say.
Hi, my name is Autumn Winkler, and I am running for re-election for Spencer County Auditor. I am married to John Winkler, and we have 5 kids, 4 boys and a girl that keep us really busy. I started in the auditor's office in January of 2011 and served as a deputy auditor for 4 years before being elected to start my term as auditor in January 2015. I ask for your consideration, and I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. I would also like to invite Jane McGinnis up, the assessor, to introduce herself to everyone.
Hi, my name is Jane McGinnis, and you know, the longer you live, the longer the bio is. So I'll make it brief. I am a Spencer County native, was raised in Grandview. I have a younger sister, Carol Lauer of Rockport. I graduated from South Spencer High School, went to Indiana University and to University of Louisville and hold degrees from both. I traveled to Kentucky where I worked for state government there for about 10 years and met my husband, who was a Lexington native. So that's where we made our home, was in Lexington. Unfortunately, I was widowed young, but having had our daughter, I chose to stay in Lexington and raise her. And then as years went on, she was out of the nest. I chose to move back home to Spencer County. And I've been back here for a little over 14 years now. Now for the assessor's office information. I feel like it is a very important office, and the state is recognizing that it takes training beyond just being elected and going to new officer or official training. There's specific training that is involved. I do hold a level 3 certification, and I think that's pretty much necessary if you can be able to explain to people and justify the assessments that are put on the parcels. Some of it is subjective, so you have to be educated enough to make those decisions that are not just black and white. There's gray area. And other than that, that's about all I have to say. Thank you very much. I appreciate your support.
All right. Can we have the two candidates for county sheriff to step forward? Kermit Lindsay on the Republican ticket and Kelly Reinke on the Democratic ticket. Each of them will have 2 minutes to talk about themselves, and then we'll go to a few questions, and after that we will take a little bit of a break. So, Kermit, I'll let you go first.
Good evening. My name's Kermit Lindsay. I live here in Rockport with my wife and 4 kids, and I'm a native of Spencer County. And I've also been a lifelong member of the Spencer County Sheriff's Department. My whole adult life has been at the Sheriff's Department. I've worked 32 years at the Sheriff's Department. From 1985 to 1988, I worked as a 911 dispatcher and jailer for the Spencer County Sheriff's Department. In 1988, I was appointed as a reserve deputy. From 1989 to the present, I've been a certified police officer. I was 21 years of age at that time. I served as chief deputy under Sheriff Lavero Udi from 1999 from 2003. And from 1995 to the present, I have worked as a Spencer County Dare officer, serving all the Spencer County elementary schools. In 2007, I was elected sheriff. And then in 2010, I was re-elected sheriff for a second term. For the last 4 years, I've taken a break from administration, and I've been actually administering the DARE program in all 7 elementary schools here in Spencer County. I have recently, kind of surprised, at the very day before school started, South Spencer Schools decided that they wanted a school resource officer full-time. Since I was the only one trained in that area, I had to report the next day to school resource officer duty at that. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I currently serve as vice president of the Spencer County Community Foundation Advisory Board. I also serve on the Spencer County chapter of Junior Achievement Advisory Board, the South Spencer Scholarship Foundation Board of Directors, and serve as coordinator for the drug education classes for all the elementary schools. In the past, I have served as president of the Spencer County Substance Abuse Council, graduated from the inaugural class of Leadership Spencer County, and helped coordinate the Fraternal Order of Police Christmas for Spencer County kids. I've coached several youth sports, including baseball, softball, cross country, upwards, basketball, and soccer. And so I've also served as a volunteer referee for upward basketball. So I believe that my 32 years of experience, I can put that to work for you as Spencer County Sheriff.
Hi, I'm Kelly Reinke, candidate for sheriff. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this very important candidate forum. I'd also like to thank 103.3 and TV 18 for broadcasting this event, and for all of you here in attendance. I graduated Heritage Hills and then Vincennes University with a degree in law enforcement. After graduation, I worked as an emergency medical technician. I was hired full-time as a deputy in 1999, and I've held various positions throughout our department. I graduated from the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. I too have held different positions on boards, served school boards and various functions throughout the school. What I'm wanting to ask is what the voters of Spencer County want to see in a sheriff. Both candidates here have numerous years with the department. We both have histories. You will find that Mr. Lindsay is a good person, and his history is a little bit more lax than mine is. You'll find that he's laxed on his department training, department involvement, and reactive to crimes. I have a history of having more training, dedication to my position, and of being more proactive against crimes. Both candidates are merit officers, so no matter what the outcome of the election is, we'll both have a job once the election is over. I've heard many positive reactions for Mr. Lindsay as a school resource officer starting out, and I think that position fits him. The Sheriff's Department, I think, has failed the citizens of Spencer County horribly for the last 12 years. There have been numerous times when there's only one officer on duty, calls have not been answered, civil papers are not served, crimes are not being invested thoroughly. We have some good officers on our department, but it lacks leadership, training, and support from our administration. As sheriff, I plan to establish a work program for inmates, extend business hours in administration, and to establish a task force that will identify and arrest those responsible for all the thefts and drug dealing going on in the county. I also want to lead a proactive sheriff's department. I ask for your vote on November 6th to help move our department forward instead of backwards. Again, Kelly Rinke, Spencer County Sheriff.
Thank you both. The first question is directed, Kermit, a little bit at you, but something for both of you to answer. How do you address the statement that there has been too much of a revolving door when it comes to the office of sheriff? You have already served 8 years as sheriff and want to replace a sheriff who himself has served multiple terms in office. How do you respond when someone, either your opponent or others, say that there is a need for fresh leadership in the office? Secondly, if elected, what fresh ideas will you bring to the department?
When I took office, before I took office, there was controversy with the Sheriff's Department and the Prosecutor's Office before 2007. Now there's controversy between the Prosecutor's and Sheriff's Office now. There seems to be a lot of drama, a lot of things going on, probably some blame both ways with that can be shared with that. But I would have you, if you can remember back from 2007 to 2014, where was the drama then? I don't think any of these two people ever wrote a bad story about me. I don't think, can you hear me now? I ask where the drama is in 2007 to 2014. I don't think any of the papers was a bad story about me. I provided the training to the Sheriff's Office, the duties that the deputies needed to do. I actually did it cheaper because I joined the council for a training, the Southwest Training Council, and any deputy could go and be trained for a period of the whole year anytime they wanted. Classes were offered, they could go and do that. So every officer was trained. By state mandate, they had to be trained. They were trained to do that. I went and my second year, the way the sheriff was being paid was how cheaply you could pay the inmates, or you could feed the inmates. If you could, whatever you could feed them on, whatever was left of that money, the sheriff got to keep. If you did a sheriff's sale, the sheriff got to keep 10% of that money. I didn't think that was quite right. So I went to the council and agreed to a $15,000 pay cut, so I would get a flat fee, and any monies that I made on after that were going into the county coffers. So $15,000 a year went back into the county coffers. I ask you to go to any school, ask any deputy that's on my department right now, did I ever treat them bad? Did I ever even yell at them? They were expected to do their job. They did it. I don't think anybody ever complained about me, and I really appreciated serving Spencer County before, and I look forward to serving Spencer County again. Thank you.
I I think that when families involved, different things happen. There's not someone to monitor the other, and that's what's become basically of the Sheriff's Department. We've had too many family members hired. When Mr. Lindsay took office, there was a numerous amount of family members that were hired. One of the family members that Mr. Lindsay hired was a cousin. And that cousin had a large criminal record. I mean, there's evidence of that. I mean, that stands. And due to that hiring, that has been part of the relationship with the prosecutor and the Sheriff's Department. That's in part of what some of the conflict has come. And now we do have that officer out working on the road, and those reports that that officer writes, any ticket, any report, any arrest, goes nowhere. So if that officer responds to your home, to a crash scene where there has been a drunk driver, besides you being a victim from that, you're going to be victimized secondly because there's no charges going to come from that officer. So I just think it's bad when you have family monitoring family. I think it's time for a change. I think it's time for Spencer County to get back in a good relationship with whichever prosecutor is elected. And I think that we need to be more proactive, and we need to get down to business of serving you, the public, instead of keeping everything in the family.
I'm going to do a twofold thing because one of it is personal. Speaking for my own newspaper, we have had a hard time in the last few years getting police reports to share with the public, getting the information we need. Sometimes it's begging, sometimes it's, no, not available, he's sleeping now. So do you plan to run a more open office? And, can you assure that we will receive that pertinent information in a timely fashion? That's part one. And the other thing is, how do you propose to cover the many areas of the county that are not incorporated? I'm thinking kind of the whole east side, and also the incorporated communities that don't have a police presence and can't afford to.
On the first question, I believe, and I'm not sure what's happening over the last 4 years, but I would be open. We're required by law to make any of our public records public. If Vince or any other person comes in and asks for those records, that's a public record that I can come and get. We actually have a folder of the police reports that the receptionist makes, and she puts them out there. I see people from the press come and grab that folder. We have a little desk in the front office. They can go into that front desk and look at any of those things that they do. But I would propose, if it would be good, that I think most of the papers come out Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday, that it may be a good idea to maybe have a press conference monthly where I wouldn't want to do each individual person, but I would like if everybody from the press could come in and we could talk about those things, talk about what can be released, what we cannot be. And then the second part of the question, that is a serious thing. We need to have more people out on the road, working the roads, and sometimes that money is tight. We've asked the county council for extra money. Sometimes they have helped us out with deputies. Sometimes it hasn't. One way that we kind of got a little, when I was sheriff before, we got a little inventive. We went to the town of Richland, and they talked about needing a little extra protection, and they were allowed to come up with a little bit of money. And so I allowed a deputy to actually work for the town of Richland when they were off duty to help have more police presence in that town. We actually did the same thing with Grandview. Jim Taggart works off duty at Grandview to try to make a little bit more presence in that town. So I would be more than willing to actually try to do that and work with those communities in order to try to get more police presence with them. We have to compensate them, but they need to be able to do that. We also did the same thing with community corrections, probation, with having more people other people paying the salary for us. We still have those guys available to us to answer calls and do those things that we need to have more presence out in the community. There's always the old saying, the best deterrent to crime is presence, police presence. And so I would be more than happy to work with those communities to be able to do that. Thank you.
Kelly Rinke. I think the Sheriff's Department should be more transparent. I think we've failed in that as well. She's brought that up, so it's obvious that it is a problem. I think we should be making more contact with our newspapers. We should be out in the public. We should be given the information on scams. We should be a little bit more open now in the social media age. We should be giving that information out kind of in a timely manner. We have people calling in because there's things going on around them and nobody responds to them. So you may have a helicopter flying over your house and we'll have a member of the public to call when nobody's there to be able to give a response for why that's going on. So if I'm elected, I intend to be way more transparent. I will get information out to you. I plan personally on going to some of the community organizations and events. I want to speak to you. I want to know what your issues are. I want to know what you want to see out of our Sheriff's Department. That's what I promise to you. As far as with coverage to some of the other areas of Spencer County, it is a large county, but again, we have failed in the last 12 years to serve the people of St. Minor, the people of Fulda, French Island Marina. Your far corners of Spencer County are not getting protection. Yes, Mr. Lindsay here did start a program to where certain officers would be able to serve as extra patrol for the towns of Richland and Grandview. To you, the citizens of Grandview, do you think it's fair that you pay twice, basically, for a service that you should be getting? And Fulda and all the areas stretched away from Rockport, is it fair that you pay the same amount of taxes and you don't get police protection, you don't get police coverage? We are lucky enough and we're fortunate enough in Spencer County to have Santa Claus Police Department and Dale Police Department to be somewhat close to where St. Minard and Fulda area is. So those agencies have responded to numerous calls to those areas in the county to help us. And I know that's greatly appreciated, but that is one of the main concerns that I get, and I'm asked what I will do for that. So I promise to you that there will be more people out on the road to provide police services to you.
Next question, and something that both of you have kind of talked about. What will be the hiring process for new deputies, jailers, dispatchers, if you are elected?
Okay, I guess we'll start. Jailers and dispatchers and deputies are a little bit different than deputies. With jailers and dispatchers, there's a different process that goes through that. I will tell you this. Sorry. With jailers and dispatchers, a little different than the deputies, and there's a different process with that. I will tell you this. We don't have any applications for jailers and dispatchers much. One thing bad about a positive economy is what a jailer makes, around $26,000, $27,000, is not appealing to somebody that can go across the river and work for an aluminum company for double that. So we are hurting and trying to get prospective candidates in order to be able to do that. But basically the process is if we get somebody to apply, we have an opening, which we do have a big turnover, that we interview them, the head of that department interviews them, and they get the okay from the sheriff to hire. Now deputies are a little bit different. And with a merit board, they are hired through the merit board. And there's a couple of different ways that might be done. Some bigger departments, what they would do is they might develop a pool of prospective candidates, okay, that might be able to be hired. Usually in the last 3 people that have been hired, there were 3 candidates we ended up hiring all 3 of them, okay, to be hired there. Spencer County is one of the lowest paid departments in the state, and when it comes to getting people to apply to our job, it's tough, okay? We have great deputies. But we probably need to up the game on their pay. So there is a pool. The the merit board okays everybody in that pool, and then when there's an opening, the sheriff decides from that pool who he might want to hire. So they've been okayed by the merit board, and they go through that. Okay. Other ways it's been done is the sheriff has made a nominee or nomination and took it to the merit board and said, hey, this is the person that I'm going to hire. That person works for a year, and then if the sheriff recommends that he stay on, he can be represented as a merit deputy. Okay, so that's my understanding, and that's how we hired when I was the sheriff there. Okay, again, the biggest issue is that we need people to apply. We need to get that. We have to have more money and more make a better offer than the departments around us. You know, Jasper pays probably $20,000 more a year than us. Okay, the state policeman with 30 years on experience that I make about $38,000 a year. They're over 60, and so and I think I'm being conservative at that. So it's hard for us to pull prospective candidates when there's other departments around us paying more to that. You just can't blame them. You can't blame somebody for wanting to move on and try to make more money for themselves.
Kelly Rinke. So as far as the hiring process, what I want to see is I want to see these positions made public. You know, there are no applicants coming in because we are not publicly advertising for these positions. I can think of several members out in our community that would probably make fine police officers, not to take away anything from those that's been hired recently, but we need to send the message out throughout the county and hire people from various areas of the county. As far as the hiring process as well, people are being hired. I think there should be the criminal background check. There should be testing done. There should be a physical agility test. We've hired a few members that I can think of recently that one of which was hired and was unable to pass the basic physical course in the academy. So we have funded, Spencer County has paid for this officer for over a year, paid for uniforms, paid for whatever training he may have went to, but he was unable to fulfill the academy requirements. So we wasted a lot of money on one individual that is not still with us. So I think there should be a strict hiring procedure to find more people. Also, you don't have to have a high salary. I knew what my salary was going to be when I come into office. I think I make a pretty decent officer, and I do it for different reasons, maybe besides the money, but that should be the focus. That should be the focus of your job, is what you're going to do for your community, whether you're getting paid $38,000 or $63,000 a year. That doesn't matter. One thing that's guaranteed, that if I am elected, as far as with the hiring procedure, there will be no nepotism within the department.
I'd like to thank both of you candidates. We're going to let you sit down. Thank you very much. I remembered to thank them. I got better. I'm going to start by introducing Dan Wilkinson, who is the current prosecutor, for his introduction to you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Again, I want to thank everyone involved in putting this on tonight and everybody coming out to listen. I think this is great for Spencer County. We have so many people wanting to find out more about candidates and issues, so thank you all for that very much. My name is Dan Wilkinson. I'm the Spencer County prosecutor. I am running for re-election on the Democrat ticket this year. A little bit about me. My wife, Emily, and I, we live in our home that we built outside of Christney here, not too far away, on the family farm that I grew up on. I've been practicing as an attorney for 19 years. I've lived and practiced law here in Spencer County for the past 17 years. Except for my time in college and a couple of years after law school, basically I've lived here my entire life. I'm a lifelong member of the Midway United Methodist Church, where I play the piano. I also play the piano a little bit at Zion Church in Christene here nearby, and have also played in the past at Peace Church down in Rockport. I'm a product of the North Spencer School Corporation, graduated from Heritage Hills, 1990. That makes me 46 years old. I've been actively involved in our community, both long before entering public service and since then as well. Some of the things that I've been involved in now and in the past: I'm a member of the Indiana Prosecuting Attorneys Council, a board member for the Southwest Indiana Child Advocacy Center Coalition, president of the Spencer County Community Corrections Advisory Board, member of our Spencer County Domestic Violence Task Force, part of our multidisciplinary team in child abuse cases, member of the Spencer County Systems of Care, and have been involved in a mentoring committee work group there. Also, president and founding board member of the Friends of Lincoln State Park. That's one of my kind of pet projects that are important to me, doing a lot at Lincoln State Park. Worked there a lot when I grew up. Also was former vice president of the Lincoln Boyhood Drama Association, former executive director for the Lincoln Amphitheater. I'm a member of the past Spencer County Community Band, and past board member of the Southern Hills Counseling Center. So those are just a few of the things I've been involved in. My experience and qualifications: I have degrees from Indiana University in secondary math education and also a law degree. My work experience includes being the prosecuting attorney since 2015, former partner in the Robinson, Wilkinson, and Pooley law firm in Rockport. And again, was former executive director for the Lincoln Amphitheater. I also served as Spencer County prosecutor in 2009 and 2010, and again, have extensive experience, jury trial experience, and look forward to answering questions and ask for your vote again to serve again as your prosecutor. Thank you. Got it.
I am. Is it on? Okay, there you go. Good evening. I could never have guessed that I would be standing here tonight when I took my first retreat at St. Meinrad in 1985. Susan and I had just returned from a 5-year assignment with the Air Force in Italy. Then we got sent to Scott Air Force Base, and here's where I entered learning about this wonderful county. We only got to stay at Scott for 1 year, but in that year we made many trips to Spencer County and fell in love with it. We spent the next assignment, we were only there for a year, and next year we were in Turkey. Spent 2 years in Turkey, then 5 more years in Korea. And while I was in Korea, I got a chance to go to the Joint Staff College in Virginia. And on my way back, I stopped in St. Meinrad for a retreat and fell in love with a little house in St. Meinrad. And so now we've lived in that house for over 25 years. I did have to get my wife's permission before I bought it. So we lived in that house, and I want you to know that I am a very, very blessed man. I have a wonderful wife, 5 great children. I live in a place I love, and I have a very successful law practice. I met my wife, Susan, while she was serving our country as an Air Force nurse, and I am blessed with 3 sons, all who have served in the military. I also have 2 wonderful daughters, and I have 7 grandchildren. I was not an attorney in the Air Force, and I retired after 21 years, and then went directly from the Air Force. 10 days later, I was in law school. People ask me why I want to be a prosecutor. The answer is very simple. Spencer County, Indiana have been very good to me. I want to be clear, I am not a professional politician, but I have a proven track record, and I am able to get things done. I am good at establishing and promoting teamwork. I do work very hard, and most importantly, I do care very much about the people, and especially the defenseless. I believe in giving back. Prosecutors and judges are well paid. And if I'm elected, I intend to contribute back to Spencer County law enforcement and social service programs. I've selected Megan Kleck as my chief deputy prosecutor. Megan and her family are lifelong Spencer County residents, and Megan and I are a team. I've established a set of 12 rules for my office. I have copies for those rules on your table. And I demand that
I and my staff will follow those rules. We will work with other agencies. We will be responsive to the needs of our community. We will call people back. We will defend the people of our country, of our county, and we will defend especially those people who are defenseless. That is the job of a prosecutor. We expect to meet those requirements. And if we don't meet them, I expect you to call me and say, Vic, you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
The first question begins with the incumbent. And as an incumbent, the question is, what are you most proud of having accomplished as prosecutor? Are there things you want to do if reelected? And to your challenger, what is going well in the prosecutor's office and what needs fixed? What changes will you make if you are elected in November?
Okay, thank you. Dan Wilkinson again. One of the things I'm proud of, when I ran the last time, one of the things that I campaigned on was an issue that the number of cases getting filed and prosecuted had gone down. There had been a great increase in the number of cases just getting dismissed and dropped. And so one goal I had was to reverse that trend. And over the last 4 years, we have reversed that trend. There are more cases getting filed, more cases getting prosecuted, fewer cases getting dropped, and we've made a lot of improvement in that area. Another thing that I'm proud of is that I re-engaged with our local victim advocacy agencies, like the Southwest Indiana Child Advocacy Center. I sit on that board now. We have worked very hard to improve our child interview location to make it more family friendly. We have increased our teamwork with law enforcement officers and those victim advocate agencies and Department of Child Services so that we have better investigations and results in those types of cases. Another thing that I did when I took office, the previous administration had pretty much dropped the website of the prosecutor's office. Well, we restarted that. We have put a lot of useful information on there to be more open to the public, to let people know what's going on and the things that we're up to. So if you want to know what the prosecutor's office has been busy doing, you can go to spincoprosecutor.org and you'll find lots of information about all the things that we're doing, the programs that we're managing, and some of the cases that we've been responsible for. So I'm very proud of some of those accomplishments. Now, I will say we've already heard some discussion tonight about issues in the Sheriff's Department. I am proud of the fact I have publicly stood up against this nepotism and this issue of an officer with a criminal record. I think that that's important. Some people think it's a joke or that it's just some kind of political thing. Well, I'm here to tell you that as a prosecutor, having an officer with a criminal record bringing cases to the prosecutor's office is a problem. And if I'm reelected, I will continue to stand against that. So people have a choice. If they like this good old boy system, there's a choice in this election. People can make that choice, and we can continue to have that. If not, there are other choices as well. So I do not apologize for that in the least bit, and I am proud of the fact that I've been willing to stand up publicly against that. That has nothing to do with getting along. I get along fine with most of the deputies in the Spencer County Sheriff's Department. In fact, they call me 24 hours a day on my cell phone asking for advice, asking questions, mainly because they can't get that advice anywhere else. So I do work well with the other people in law enforcement, but I do have an issue with a sheriff who hires his own son with a criminal record and then expects me as a prosecutor to take those cases. So I take that very seriously, and whether you want to call that an accomplishment, it's something that I am proud as a prosecutor to stand against. So thank you.
Okay. I'm still trying to figure out how that shows teamwork, but that's okay. The fact of the matter is I will work with law enforcement. And the sheriff is an elected official, and I will respect other elected officials. I will get out there and work with those officials and other law enforcement agencies, and we will work closely together. There will not be the drama that there is presently. And that, to me, is very important. You talk about transparency. I guarantee you we're going to have transparency in that office. When you ask a question, as long as I can legally answer that question, I will. The other part of this is I will call people back. Okay? I have heard more stories about folks not getting calls back, and that will not happen. I believe we're a small enough county that we can work together to make things better. Okay? And the other part of this is we have crime out there. Everybody knows we've got increasing crime out there, and we need every tool in our arsenal to be able to defeat the problems that we're having. We won't be able to do it if we're fighting each other. We've got to use teamwork. We use teamwork in the military, and we're going to use teamwork in the prosecutor's office and in this county for law enforcement. That's where I stand.
Okay, I'm going to touch the elephant in the room. Some people are calling it Catgate. I want you to explain your decision and why, and then give Vic the opportunity to say what he would have done differently, maybe, if he would have.
Sure, be glad to. And I don't know if there is a time limit to answer this question because obviously we could talk about this for a long time. So, of course, what most people I think are aware of, there was an issue raised with the Spencer County Animal Shelter, and so there was an investigation involved with that. Initially, that investigation began in the Sheriff's Department. In the midst of that, they determined that they thought they might have a conflict and decided that they wanted someone else to take that over. At that point, we followed the procedure of contacting the state police to have an outside investigator appointed to take over that investigation. They have a procedure with that where we put that in writing, which we did, and then they appointed someone out of the Evansville district to come in and finish that investigation. And so what happened then is that particular trooper out of Evansville came to Spencer County, interviewed various witnesses, gathered evidence, and then they turned in a report to my office for review. So last Friday, we had a little press conference in Rockport to discuss the results of that investigation. Basically what those results were, the state trooper determined after interviewing witnesses, number one, that he felt there wasn't sufficient direct evidence because there were no witnesses able to say or testify that they had witnessed the activity, the placing of cats in the freezer. None of them were able or willing to say they had done it themselves at someone else's direction. That was one of the issues. Another issue is that there are exemptions in the state law for animal shelters, for animal workers who are working under guidelines and policies and direction that would also pose an issue with prosecution. So what I did, after having lots of discussions with the Indiana State Police, also talked to other experienced prosecutors, did my own legal research, we came to the conclusion that we just could not make a criminal case about that. Now, that doesn't mean that, that nothing happened. That doesn't mean that there aren't issues to be addressed. It doesn't mean that there are things that should have been handled better initially in that process. One of the issues I had was someone in the Sheriff's Department released a case report to the media in the middle of the investigation before all of the witnesses had been interviewed. That's a problem. You don't release that kind of stuff when you're still investigating because the other witnesses know what other people have said. I mean, it messes everything up. So that was an issue as well. So what I did is what a prosecutor has to do every day is you have to make difficult decisions. Those decisions aren't always necessarily what the most popular decision would be, because you have to follow the law and you have to use the evidence available to you. So prosecutors every day have to make decisions to either prosecute someone that somebody's not going to be happy about, or that they can't prosecute someone that someone's not going to be happy about. And if you're going to get into this job, you have to be willing and able to make those decisions. Now, I had a lot of people suggesting to me, Dan, you should have put that off till after the election, or had some excuse to not make that decision. Well, that's just not how I operate. This is a decision that had to be made. It was the right one. Again, I think there's more things that need to be done to fully address the issue with the animal shelter, and I'm hoping that other people involved in that will do that. In fact, I forwarded that report to the commissioners and their attorney with a letter with some suggestions from me of some things I think that they ought to look at. So, you know, I think there's other things that can be done. But again, I think I did what a public official should do. I stood up. I said what the decision was, why I made it. I answered the media's questions. I stayed afterwards. I talked with a lot of the people who were concerned about that issue, the activist groups and the local people. We had some good conversations. So, you know, I think there's still the opportunity for that, I hope, to work out in a positive way for Spencer County and the animal shelter. But that was the decision that had to be made, and why I made it.
You know, a prosecutor has a tremendous amount of discretionary authority. And I'm not going to argue here or stand here and tell you I have seen the report. So I don't know what the police report actually said. So I'm not going to argue about whether anybody should be prosecuted. But I am going to tell you that we have very carefully looked at the statute. And that's Indiana Code 46.3-12A2. And looking at that statute, it is clear that the prosecutor could prosecute if they desired. Okay? And that's what's important, is we got to have a prosecutor who is willing to stand up there and prosecute. Okay? We defend the defenseless. We enforce the law. I'm not afraid to make decisions. I've made them all my life, and I'll make them again. And even as a defense attorney, I make decisions, and I'm okay with it. What I'm not okay with is looking at the law and coming up with a different idea or a different interpretation than any place else I've seen. And so, to me, it's imperative that we have a prosecuting attorney who's going to work with other law enforcement agencies and defend those people and those creatures that need defending. And that's where I'm at.
Third and final question. What can the prosecutor's office do in partnership with law enforcement, with the court, and other groups who are fighting the opioid crisis in our county? What have you seen in your jobs as prosecutor and as an attorney that might help you to help those who are fighting this terrible addiction?
Dan Wilkinson again. Well, one thing I will say is that in Spencer County, our number one problem is still methamphetamine. Not saying that opioids are not an issue, but in Spencer County, you can ask anybody in our criminal justice system, it is overwhelmed by methamphetamine cases. Now, there are probably some similarities in how we address those. You know, in Spencer County, one of the drawbacks we have is, you know, people who are addicted need treatment, but we don't have a lot of options in Spencer County. You know, we work with Southern Hills Counseling Center, we work with The Way in Rockport, we work with counseling centers in Evansville. There are faith-based programs in Washington and Corydon that we work with at times. but it's hard to find people the help that they need. And unfortunately, when you're dealing with addiction, it'd be nice if people were just going out and seeking help when they need it, but that's not the way that works. And unfortunately, what leads them to treatment oftentimes is contact with the criminal justice system through being arrested and things of that nature. So, I think one thing that we can try to do in working together is trying to pull resources together, trying to have maybe, I'd like to see a centralized location where people can go and get, referred to different counseling types of services or treatment centers, that type of thing, and try to encourage people to reach out or family members to reach out and, like I say, get help before the criminal justice system gets involved. But unfortunately, criminal justice is going to have a lot to do with it. So when people reach us, the things that we have to use all the tools in our toolbox. So sometimes if it's repeat habitual offenders, drug dealers, people with serious problems, sometimes those people, they got to go to the Department of Correction, and they have programs there that can help them. We have community correction supervision because the state laws, a few years ago, they reduced a lot of these penalties because the state doesn't want to build prisons. They don't want to pay for people in prisons. They want them to be in the counties. So guess what? We get to pay for it here. So that's why we have to have community corrections programs. That's why we have to have robust probation programs and things, because we're going to be forced to deal with these people and these situations in our community. One of the most successful programs we probably have in Spencer County is our drug court program. It's certified by the state of Indiana, but they place a limit on how many people you can serve, and our limit is about 35 to 40 people. And so over the last few years, and most of the time, we've been pretty close to that limit. So we utilize all those programs as best we can, and this is just going to continue. But we're going to have a more concerted and proactive approach to try to slow down the flow of these drugs and try to get some of these drug dealers off the street. But then some of these people who are users, we got to try to get the monitoring and the treatment and things that they need to try to keep them from reoffending again. But it's going to be an ongoing issue. It's not just Spencer County, it's everywhere. Everyone's trying to deal with this. And unfortunately, like I say, we're dealing with the meth, but the opioids are probably coming. We know they're here, and we'll have to deal with that too. So that's kind of, I think, where that issue stands right now.
All right, well, I refuse to be a defeatist. We're going to do what it takes to get those drugs off the street. And if you're a drug dealer, we're going to try to max your sentences. If you're a violent criminal, we're going to max your sentences. We're not going to drop it down to A misdemeanors. We're going to go out there and cause people some concerns about how their criminal activities are affecting this community. So many kids are dying from these drugs, and we can't sit around and just say, well, we're going to try. We're not going to try. We're going to get it done, all right? And we're going to do whatever it takes to get it done. We're going to have to go out there, and we're going to work as teams. We're going to go out there and work with the county council. We're going to go out there and work with our neighboring counties, both in Indiana and across the river. We have to work together. We have to find ways to keep kids from dying. And today, drug overdoses are one of the leading causes of death of young people. I can't accept that we're just going to sit there and just try to wait and find some solution. We're going to go out there and seek those solutions. Okay? That's just the way it's got to be. And there are grants out there, and we've got to pursue those grants. And like I said, teamwork is essential. I intend to work with pastors. I intend to work with families. I intend to work with social service agencies. I especially intend to work with law enforcement. We're going to do what it takes to get this job done. I don't think our generations and our community can ask for anything less of us.
I want to thank both of you gentlemen. Thank you. We will let you have your seats. And now I would ask for the coroner candidates to come forward. And there is no incumbent in this position. We have Chris Anderson and Rachel Gentry. And who would like to go first for your 2 minute? Okay.
Hello, everyone. My name is James Christopher Anderson. Most people know me as Chris. I am asking for your support this election as I am running for Spencer County Coroner. I was raised on my family's farm outside of Gentryville, fourth generation to farm there. I graduated from Heritage Hills High School in 2004. During the summers and weekends, I worked at Lincoln State Park and also for Spencer County Ambulance Service. I graduated from Vincennes University with an associate's degree in loss prevention and business management. After college, I began to work full-time for Spencer County Ambulance Service. While there, I went ahead and continued my education. I started out as a basic EMT and on the fire departments, continued my education and obtained an intermediate EMT certification, and currently I'm a paramedic for the ambulance service. Also, I'm a deputy coroner for Spencer County's Coroner's Department, a state-trained medical legal death investigator. I'm also a lifelong member of Mount Olive Church. It's United Methodist Church. It's outside Gentryville. Also, I work part-time for my family's farm. 14 years of service as a volunteer fire department between Christine and Gentryville, or Jackson Township. Also, through that, I've increased my education, became a fire instructor. Also serve as vice chairman for the Indiana District 18 Volunteer Firefighters Association. I'm a board member of the Christine Community Apartments and also advisory committee member of the Heritage Hills FFA. I currently live in Christine with my wife, Christina. Most people know her as Chrissy. We do have a dog named Ruby. I have two stepdaughters, Amy and Allison, and 4 grandkids, and I would appreciate your vote on November 6th.
Good evening, and thank you to the Spencer County Chamber for hosting this event. My name is Rachel Gentry, and I'm your Republican candidate for Spencer County Coroner. I was raised in Spencer County and reside just outside Rockport with my husband Patrick on our 4th-generation family farm. I'm a graduate of South Spencer High School and went on to further my education at Vincennes University, where I obtained a degree in applied science. I'm a nationally registered paramedic and am certified in Indiana, Kentucky, and Illinois. I've been a paramedic for 5 years, averaging over 1,000 ambulance runs a year, and currently work in Owensboro. Many people feel called into public service at different levels, but it's my servant's heart that has led me to run for this office. I do not consider myself a politician, but I have definitely felt a pull to do more for my community. As a firefighter and paramedic, I knew that the coroner's office was a perfect fit for me. My depth of experience in the first responder roles allow me to approach death in both a compassionate and analytical fashion. Having a solid healthcare background is imperative when investigating death. My skills allow me to review medical records and the decedent's medical history to assist in determining the cause of death. As a certified death investigator, I'm also qualified to investigate suspicious deaths and work alongside law enforcement as well as determine a cause and manner of death. I am confident that my experience as a deputy coroner and my solid background in the medical profession will serve Spencer County well. My unique qualifications across each of these areas make me the best candidate for the job. This November, I'd appreciate your vote.
Two questions for the candidates for county coroner. The job of coroner has never been a high-paying position, and whomever of you is elected will earn about $12,000 per year. Why does it matter who holds the job, and what 1 or 2 characteristics makes you the better candidate?
I'm Chris Anderson. On taking the job, right now I do work full-time for the county ambulance service. I'm just kind of looking for a little change of pace. And then what was the other part? I'm sorry. Okay, on the characteristics, I currently do work for the coroner's department. My plan is, if elected, that I'm going to go ahead and retain all of the staff that we have. We have many years of experience, knowledge throughout the department. I figure that we need to utilize that, and we would best utilize that by keeping the staff we currently have. That way we're not having to pay to train more people or do things on that type of level.
As far as the money, and earlier they were talking about insurance, to me that's not a concern. I've worked for the Spencer County Coroner's Office. I currently work in Warwick County, where I've gained much experience. And I have worked with other surrounding counties, and I have witnessed what works and what most definitely does not. I'm running for this office because I want to make sure that when you're in need of the coroner's office, which I hope I never have to see you doing that, I want to see you as I'm out in the community educating you, your family, your children on preventable deaths. But when you do need my office, I promise that we will be there. We will show up in a timely and professional manner. As far as what makes me the better candidate, I actually currently hold my death investigator certification, and I have for about a year now. As I said, I currently work as a deputy coroner. I currently work as a paramedic as well, but I also have experience in other parts of the medical field. I've worked at a level 2 trauma center and a skilled nursing facility, which gives me a more unique background in medical knowledge. As a deputy coroner, I've worked many natural death investigations, as well as taking courtesy calls from hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, and hospice agencies. As a deputy coroner, I have experience conducting multidisciplinary death investigations with several law enforcement agencies. I also, because of my experience already as a deputy coroner, have a close working relationship with resources for our community, such as the HOPE team, who provides support to families after suicide, Play for Kate, who offers our children ATV safety education, and Logan's Promise, who does drunk driving awareness and education, but also are there, they will come out and help support a family after a loss of drinking and driving. So I've already created these relationships. I have already done the job on my own, and that makes me the better candidate.
Okay, one more question for you guys, because I know it's getting late and we have some school board candidates to get to. The county often foots the bills for autopsies that have been ordered, by the coroner. Is there a way that these costs can be managed while still carrying out the duties of coroner?
As far as the coroner's department, the guidelines, it's state statute that the county's responsible for it. So, but then on our end as coroner's department members, it's our decision. We need to make the wise choice on whether to go ahead and do, if we have to use the county's funds to pay for an autopsy or not. And also now, there's even been more state legislature that is requiring us to do more. So as far as trying to say we're going to be able to save the county money on that aspect, it's state statute requires the county pay for those. So we just have to be educated and know what is necessary to have one performed.
As he said, as a coroner, there are some deaths that your hands are tied. The state says any accidental death that's unwitnessed, children, things like that. They also just passed a new piece of legislation, as the prosecutors were talking about. Anyone who dies from a suspected opioid death must have toxicology ran. Now, that is a grant, so that's not something that the county doesn't have to cover. But what you have to think about when you think about an autopsy, yes, there are times where it's not needed, and that's where my medical knowledge and my experience working, on the ambulance service, that's going to give me a better idea as far as the medical knowledge to decide a cause of death. I've made an average of 1,000 911 calls a year, whereas our county ambulance service down in Rockport only makes about 1,300 runs a year. So I have much more medical knowledge to help save on those costs. But you also have to think, if anyone here has ever lost a loved one and you're left with those questions that are not answered, sometimes it's necessary to order that autopsy, because someone in our community, when they lose a loved one, their peace of mind, it's not about the money.
I want to thank both of these candidates. I appreciate it. We have gotten to our last item, and that would be South Spencer School Board. So South Spencer School Board candidates, come on down. There are, I believe, 8. George Schweppe II, Matt Bunner, who is an incumbent, Scott Richard is an incumbent, Eric Small, Evan Young, Kevin Collins, Seth Dernill, and Melissa Middleton. Did I get y'all? Are y'all here? Okay. We can do it in any order you want to start to give your 2-minute introduction. Okay, there you go.
Hi, my name is Seth Dernill. A little bit about myself. I have been married to Allison for 24 years now. She is a stay-at-home mom. We moved to Grandview in February of 2003. We have 4 boys. Mason, he is 18. He is a freshman at USI. Nolan is 16. He's a junior at South Spencer. And Hayden is 14. He's a freshman at South Spencer. And Abram, he's 3 years old, and he is a preschooler. He's a dove over in Christie Cornerstone. I'm not here for the school's health insurance, and I'm not here for the compensation I'll be getting. I'm here because I believe we have lost the ability to communicate and work together. 6 years ago, we started a steady decline, where at that time we had 1,335 kids with a graduation rate of 93%. To 2 years ago, where we had 1,224 kids with a graduation rate of 87%, and the state average is 89%. So in 4 years' time, we have lost 111 kids into our enrollment, and we've lowered, we're below the state average in graduation rate. I think as a community, we can do much better than that. I'm not just talking about the school board or the principals or the teachers. I'm talking about all of us. That's why I'm running. Thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for putting on this forum this evening. It's been very informative. My name is Scott Richard, and I'm running for re-election for the Hammond Township seat on the South Spencer School Board. I've been married to my wife, Katie, for 26 years, and we have 2 children. My son, Brad, he's 20, graduated from South Spencer in 16. My daughter, Brenna, she's a senior this year, and was also 4th in the state in archery. I always have to get my little dig in for my archery shooter there. I have also lived in this district my whole life, which is 50 years. I have been involved with the youth in our community from the time I graduated high school. I started coaching Little League, coached Little League for 20 years. I also run the Grandview Conservation Club. We do adult youth leagues. We get kids from all over, Owensboro, everywhere, pair them up with adults to learn how to shoot archery. I've been coaching our high school archery team since its onset in 2013. I also helped get the South Spencer Youth Football League started. We're in our 6th season now with 100 kids, and I'm also a member of the Grandview Masonic Lodge. I have thoroughly enjoyed my 4 years on the school board, and very proud of the accomplishments we have made in the 4 years. In the last 2 years, we have balanced the budget. We've been in the black for the first time in over a decade, which I'm very proud of. Started a high school renovation project, $18 million on a school that was built in 1976. We have a new athletic complex, state of the art. And last year we completely redone our baseball field. And we have, one of the proud things is the implementation of our curriculum mapping in our schools to follow the students to make sure their scores are staying where they should be. Once again, I want to thank the Chamber, and I hope to get your vote in November.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Collins, and before I start, I would like to say something to all the candidates here this evening. I want to congratulate you and thank you for taking the initiative to stand up and run for office, including all of these fine people. See a lot of good people tonight. I feel really good about that. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I know many of you in the room. Hopefully I can tell you some things about me that you did not already know. I am running for the Ohio Township seat on South Spencer School Board. My wife, Debbie, and I have 2 children and 4 grandchildren. I am the son of 2 lifelong educators who both retired in North Spencer. I am one of 5 brothers. Yes, Doug is my brother. I have a bachelor's degree in art education, K through 12. I have a master's degree in psychology and school counseling. I retired in June of 2018 from South Spencer with 37 years in education. 23 of those, the last 23, as the guidance counselor at South Spencer High School. I believe I am qualified for a seat on our board. I have always served in my community. In the recent past, I have been a member of the board of the Spencer County Mental Health Association. I have been a member of the Spencer County Drug Court. I spent 6 years on the board of the Spencer County Community Foundation, 2 of those as president. Currently serve on the Rockport Historic Preservation Commission. All those experiences, along with growing up in that house with 2 teachers and 4 brothers, my education and my experience as an educator, I believe, have me prepared for this kind of responsibility. I am a stakeholder because I am a member of this community, and I have 4 grandkids who attend our schools. I am running because I feel like I can make a positive contribution. I was asked before we started this evening where I stood on some issues, and I can tell you where I stand on all issues, and that is on the side of what is best for our kids. Abraham Lincoln once said, "Be sure you put your feet in the right place, then stand firm." That is the one promise that I could make to you, is that I will always try to put my feet in the right place, and I will always stand firm on the side of what's best for our students. Thank you very much.
I'm George Sweppy II. I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for having this meet and greet tonight. I'm running for Hammond Township, seat 1 for South Spencer School Board. I'm a graduate of South Spencer, 1986. I've lived in Grandview for over 25 years. Me and my wife have 3 daughters, 1 in high school, a freshman, and 2 in grade school at Rockport Elementary School. One of the reasons why I'm running is for the seat of the South Spencer School Board. I went to a meeting, first one this year, and it lasted over 2.5 hours. And it was long, real long. But the thing that I got out of that meeting was hold on. One of the reasons why I'm running is there has been too many good South Spencer employees that have been forced out of the corporation. And if I'm elected, one of the goals as a board member is we as a board need to earn the trust back of the employees of South Spencer School Corporation. I feel right now the teachers are too scared to talk about anything wrong with anything of importance or any changes that need to be made to make the school better. Without being scared, they would be fired for voicing their concerns. Change needs to be made somewhere, and I would like to be the one to help make the change better for our kids and their education. Thank you for
Good evening. My name is Melissa Middleton. I am a Spencer County resident for the past 40 plus years. I have been married to Scott Middleton for 21 years. We have two beautiful daughters. Olivia is a junior at South Spencer High School. Audrey is an 8th grader at South Spencer Middle School. We have many concerns going on in our school system, and I feel that I would represent the community, the parents, the students. The students is the main priority right now. We have to make sure that what is enforced is what's best for the students. I believe that I would be a good advocate. I love our school system. I am a South Spencer graduate myself of class of 1991. I am proud to say that. I want my children to be proud to be a South Spencer graduate when they graduate. I want these young classmates that's watching us right now, I want them to be proud. It's heartbreaking hearing all these stories that's going on in the school. I spoke to a young lady earlier, very bright young lady. She has told me many things that it's very concerning. Us board members must have passion for the children, for the school. We must come together and make the right decision for these students, for the school, for the community. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Chamber. Thanks, everybody, for hanging around. I know it's getting late. It's getting very late. Hello, my name is Evan Young. I'm running for the South Spencer School Board seat, the Luce Township seat. Live just east of Eureka with my wife, Christy. Together, we've got 5 children. I got 1 at Western, 1 at USI, 1 at the high school, 1 at the middle school, and 1 at St. Bernard's. I'm a union plumber by trade, where I'm a troubleshooter. I'm an inventor. I'm a problem solver. And to my apprentices, I'm a teacher every day. But more importantly, I'm a parent, volunteer, taxpayer, and father. I bring to the table a new set of eyes to a board of school districts that's dealt a hand by the state, and then it's our job to take these funds and make the tough and sometimes creative choices that impact our children and ultimately their future as citizens. The board has been a hot topic here of late, which is great to see lots of people at the meetings and a show of people. That's great. But getting involved is great, but what's done is done. We got to move on with these changes and work to correct them, the mistakes, and learn from them. learn from the mistakes. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you guys for your support.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to say thanks to everyone who had a hand in putting this together. My name is Eric Small. In the fall, I'm running for the Luce Township seat for South Spencer School Board. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in Spencer County, and where I was taught by my parents, hard work, respect, honesty, they pay off in the long run. So I graduated from South Spencer in 2001 and attended college in Ohio. After graduating college, I settled in Indianapolis, where I married my high school sweetheart, Tana. After a few years in Indianapolis, we decided to move back to Spencer County because we thought it was a great place to raise a family. Now that we have 3 kids in the school corporation, my wife and I, we stay involved any way we can, not only to share in our kids' experiences, but the children of the community and offer them support as well. I'm seeking a seat on the school board because it's a great way to help shape our children's future. I believe that our school board needs to be more receptive and responsive to our faculty and staff, our students, and the community in general, in hopes that we can share in the knowledge and the satisfaction that we've provided the best opportunities and the educational needs for our children. So thanks for your time and support, and vote for me in the fall. Eric Small.
Good evening. My name is Matt Bunner. I'm a current school board member for South Spencer School Corporation, and I'm running for re-election in Ohio Township. I'm married to the love of my life, Melissa, for 20 years. We have 2 lovely daughters, Madison, who is 11, and Molly, who is 7. They both attend Rockport Elementary School. I am a servant leader. I've been involved in many corporations and board within the community. I served on the YCC board that built this facility. Junior Achievement, I'm on the advisory board, as well as I'm a 3rd grade volunteer teacher for both Mrs. Banks and Mrs. Coombs' 3rd grade class at Rockport Elementary, where I volunteer 5 weeks a year to teach them about our town and our cities, which is very, very important. I was on the Leadership Spencer County Board, where I served as president for that. I've been the board president for South Spencer School Corporation for 2 terms in my first year, or my first term on the board. I'm also on a lot of national safety boards. I've sat through different certifications on active shooters and workplace violence. In my professional career, as I'm a safety manager for Mulzer Crush Stone, a mining company of over 600 employees, where part of my job is training those individuals and teaching those people. So I myself am an educator of adults. Like I said, I have a servant's heart, and I work actively in my church. I am always actively in the PTOs of both Rockport Elementary and Luce Elementary, and take that job very as important. I have ran on the ABCs of education, and that is academic accountability, a balanced budget, and building character for our children. And those are the fundamental processes which I will continue to maintain if you will vote me in November. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys and would be willing to answer any questions. Thanks.
First question, and I would encourage candidates to try to keep their comments to the point and as brief as possible, but still getting your point across. Question number 1, it's no secret that there are disagreements among board members and challengers alike on the direction the school system should take. It's quite possible there will be disagreements once the new board takes office next year. So the questions are, how will you work to build consensus on important issues about which you might disagree? In other words, how good of a compromiser are you?
Seth Durnall. Our nation has become hardly divided, and I hated seeing our county become hardly divided too. I think we all have strengths and weaknesses alike. I think we can work better as a team, and I think that's where we're lacking. Certain people have certain knowledges with certain things, and certain people have other knowledges with other things. And I don't think we're doing a very good job working together as a team. And that's one of my strengths above all, is communicating and seeing what people's strengths are and try to get them all into the right places and the right pieces. Thank you.
One thing I bought into when I first, 4 years ago when I joined, Mr. Bunner and myself said, you know, we're always going to agree to disagree when there's a board, especially a 5-member board. You got odd numbers. But I've always had the policy of, even if I don't agree with it, if I voted against it, but the other 3 or 4 voted for it, then it's time to support that decision. We have to support each other after the decision's made, as long as it's in the best interest of the kids. Even if it wasn't what we thought it was, I've always thought that we should support each other once a vote is made. And I'm hoping whoever's reelected, if I'm reelected, we all come together and we see that it's all for the kids. I mean, that's all it has to be about, is making sure we're giving the best education to the kids and making sure we have the best school corporation.
Kevin Collins again. I believe that no matter what kind of committee, what kind of group you're a part of, it's always going to be a struggle to be able to come to a consensus on every issue. I think the reality is that there are times where that is just not going to happen. But if we were a board of 5 like-minded individuals who always came to the same conclusion, then I don't quite know why we would need a 5-member board. So I think one of the strengths of a 5-member board is that you do have people, like Scott mentioned, from different backgrounds with different expertises to be able to come together. You do have to agree to disagree, but I do think that politics will have to be put aside, and whatever decisions are made have to be for the best when it comes to our kids, their academic achievement, for our schools, and for our community.
Basically, I agree with both of the candidates right there. When it comes to agreeing and disagreeing, it can be tabled to do research on the topic that is on the board, on the table right at the time. And I think that research and time is what we need to better the kids, because it's all about the kids.
Hi, Melissa Middleton. A lot of us, we have great ideas for our school system. Number one, we're all adults. You know, we have to be responsible. We all have children in the system. We all have relatives that have children in the system. I think that most of all, we must communicate. We have to communicate, whether it's with the administrators, with the staff, the students, the other school board members. That is a big thing. We must communicate. Top and foremost, communication is number one. Number two, again, we're going to agree to disagree. Be adults about it, respectfully and professionally. Move on. Don't hold grudges against one another. This is what is best for the students, far and foremost. Thank you.
Evan Young, I wish I would have went first. They got great answers. And every time you hear one, you think, that's good too, which is good. They're all great. Yeah, the whole thing with that is you've got to take in all the information. You got to take everything into consideration. But at the end of the day, even if you vote for something, you've got to believe in it. You've got to own it. You've got to and know it's for the kids. You know, I mean, that's what it's for. It's for the kids, for the system, for your district, and for everybody else. Thank you.
Eric Small. I mentioned compromise. I think as far as compromising when it comes to these topics, you got to be willing to listen as much as you talk. You know, stand behind what you believe, for sure. We're all adults, and you got to respect each other's opinion. If you can't do that, then maybe we shouldn't be here. So.
I think the answer is be available. One thing that I've always done for the 4 years that I've been on the board has been available. Whether it's email, text, phone call, or in person, I want to be available and communicate. So one of the things I want to communicate tonight, we talk about the board not being cohesive. In the 4 years that I've been on the board, I can count on one hand the number of times that we didn't have a unanimous vote. So when we voted for something, it was either 5-0 or 4-0, and the reason why it's 4-0 or 3-0 is because you run into situations where there's a conflict of interest. I work for Mulzer Crush Stone. If the school corporation is looking at purchasing some type of rock, I obviously am not going to be involved in that vote. So sometimes we need to also consider going back and looking through those board packets and seeing how the votes turned out. Being available and communicating as a board, we do a great job. There's some rules and guidelines that we have to stick to where we can't meet as a quorum anywhere in the public and talk. So it has to be done one-on-one. So a lot of people think that that doesn't come across as being very transparent because you can't sit as a group and talk. I'd have to reach out to Scott, then reach out to Steve, then reach out to Derek, and that's the way the process works. It would be a whole lot easier if we could just sit around the table and solve problems. But there are policies and procedures that we have to follow. And that's one thing that I've stood very firm on being on the board, is making sure we follow the rules and we're not going to stick ourselves with some type of a liability issue.
Thank you. We're all getting kind of tired, so I'm going to throw one more question out for you 8 school board members. And I appreciate everybody that hung in here for the whole evening. And my question comes from a student. Okay. What will you do to improve the education provided within the schools? And what is your opinion of the educators and transparency within the schools? A little bit of a tough double question.
Well, I think we need to start better with our grassroots. I think at the elementary school level, we have too many kids per teacher. I've heard up to 22 kids, and a teacher would only have a 30-minute assist. An aide in the morning, 30-minute aide in the afternoon. For second grade kids, you're talking about 7, 8-year-old kids, and you know after 22 kids, 4 or 5 are probably really struggling. That being said, you probably got 15 kids that could be getting self-taught. So I think we need to start back at the elementary level and think about what with the younger kids. As far as the transparency goes, I would like to see an open dialogue between the teachers. We get emails from the teachers to us, and I don't know if the parents are corresponding back or not, but I think that also is very helpful with the open dialogue.
As far as improving the education, 2 years ago, of course, Ms. Ford has left and moved to Evansville for a job closer to home. But she implemented curriculum mapping in our elementary school at Rockport. And it follows every student all the way from first grade all the way through. And it watches their scores and makes sure that if they start to fault in an area like arithmetic or math, they're going to get them a little extra help where we can keep our scores up and improve our education. As far as, and I think that's been a huge factor. We've got preliminary scores for our schools, and Rockport's up. All of our schools are. So we're making strides in that, and that's been a huge benefit from having great administrators in our schools. Transparency, I'm going to refer to, like Mr. Bunner said, I think that means being available. I'm fortunate my office is right across the highway from the high school. And I promise you from 8 to 5 every day, except for 12 to 1, I go to lunch. My door's open. If anybody wants to come talk to me about issues, as long as it's stuff that I can legally talk about, I am more than happy to listen to people and try to do what I can to help them. Thanks.
Again, Kevin Collins. The first part of that question about, I think we need to look at instruction, classroom instruction. Class size, lower grades is obviously an issue, but I think we have to foster an environment where teachers are supported and an environment where students can learn. I think that's paramount. Secondly, I think we need to make decisions based on data. Not on what we think, not on what our gut feeling is, but based on data, okay? Which we have data. We do more testing than you can imagine. I spent 29 years as a guidance counselor dealing with ISTEP. I have nightmares about ISTEP, but it does provide a ton of data on what is going on in our classrooms. We need to use that data to make adjustments. Curriculum is not something we have decisions to make. Curriculum is decided by the state of Indiana, by the Department of Education. Requirements for diplomas, those are all decided. We don't have any say locally on those issues. As far as transparency goes, we can say we're transparent. That doesn't make us transparent. We have to be transparent. I would like to see our board policies, our administrative guidelines published. I don't see any reason why those shouldn't be available. They are, by law, available in every building, but you got to get up, you got to go there to get it. Well, in this day and age, even though from what I heard before, we're lacking in our infrastructure, and I live in a black hole in Rockport where I don't always get internet, but I see no reason why those policies shouldn't be available to everybody through our website. That would make us a lot more transparent.
George Sweppy. Better. Me and my wife just come from a parent-teacher conference the other day, and like Mr. Richards said over there, he said that data, and we have a girl that's not doing as well in class as she should be. Well, her teacher has programs and other teacher helpers and stuff that it's a smaller class. So what we have is we have over too many kids in a class, so she's not getting the learning that she should, and she's learning slower. So she's going to another teacher with a smaller group of kids and getting the better education that what she should. As far as the second question, and it falls back to my opening comments, trust. If the teachers don't trust the school board, they're not going to talk, and you won't find out what is actually what they need, what they want. So that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Hi, Melissa Middleton again. We all know that all the students in the school system right now, they are not all on the same level of education. We have some that are on the AP classes. We have some that are intermediate. We have some that are strugglers. I know several students that are strugglers. We, as a school board, as a school system, we must supply all of the tools, all of the resources that are available to every single child, whether it's AP, whether it is the strugglers that have an IEP or a 504 program. They have to be provided for them. The assistants, the special needs teachers, they have to be there for them. They have to be there not only for the students, but for the parents. I mean, us parents, we rely on those special needs teachers. We rely on you teachers out there. It's not only up to the teachers to educate the children, it's us parents too. We have to educate them as well. As transparency, we all have to be an open book. My door is always open to anybody and everybody, especially when it is pertaining to our children. I have a phone, I have email, and I live locally, so you can contact me anytime. I would love to speak to any and everybody. Thank you.
Evan Young, with the first part of that, I think it's continuing education, workshops, seminars, things like that. Keep the teachers caught up with it. If you don't keep up, you're left behind. That's very important. I know a teacher would get into the same pattern over and over, but you got to change. You got to go with it. There's new tools, there's new training, there's things all the time, but you got to keep up with it. As far as the second part go with transparency, yes, it goes back to parent-teacher conference. That's the simplest thing. That's it. And I know they've got away from that. Talk to them. Same way, school board, talk. I know it's great to text, email, phone call that. Sit down, one-on-one, and talk to them. Thank you.
I'm Eric Small. As far as the education side of it, I think we need to make sure our teachers and our faculty and staff are taken care of, promote positive work environments. It's going to be a lot easier for these kids to want to learn more, stay focused in that situation. Transparency, transparency is what keeps things honest. It keeps stuff, moving in the right direction. You start closing that off, and that's where you start to see things go downhill. So.
On the first part of the question is in regards to curriculum. As a school board member, we are encouraged to every week meet with the superintendent, either on a phone call or actually go out and meet with them and go over what's going on in the school systems. And that's a big piece. We've been hearing and talking about mapping and some of the curriculum things that we've been working on, and we're going to see some results on that here very soon. Very proud of those things. So there's a lot of things going on there that maybe the public doesn't know specifically right now, which leads into the transparency part. As a board member, our job is to oversee the superintendent and also to oversee the policy and procedural part. The superintendent's job is to oversee the administrative part. Those principals and those teachers, they lead their buildings, and they're the ones that are the experts on education that have the college experience in that. Our job is just to oversight and see that it's being done and implemented. So we sit back and we watch and we talk about transparency. We're a small knit community. Something gets spoken out in public, and the next thing you know, someone's asked a board member and you want to give information about that topic, and it's something that really technically we can't talk about. So it doesn't look very transparent. All of our decisions are made in a public meeting that is welcome to the public, and everybody is welcome. And those decisions are voted on where all 5 board members are 20% of that voting process. So the system is designed, there's state laws, and there's also policies and bylaws, as Mr. Collins mentioned, that have to be followed there to make sure things are done appropriately. So a lot of times we think about being transparent. The concern there runs into our job is not to go out there and tell everything that's going on, because there's a lot of things that are policy, procedure, privacy, things of that nature. Thanks.
Thank you to all you school board candidates. We much appreciate you staying to the end and going through this. Thanks to everyone out there for staying to the end. Really do appreciate it. Hope you learned a lot, that this helped you with your decision-making process. I'll let Kathy do the final.
I will say, I'm sorry, real quickly, you guys, we do have one county There are a lot of positions, there are a lot of offices, a lot of boards, but we need to be working together because we have one county to take care of amongst our folks. So please get out, vote, support your candidates that you feel are right. If it's not something that you feel is right, go to your board, go to the county council, commissioners meeting, but please do it civilly and exercise your right to vote. Thank you all very much for your time tonight.